All right, what's up, guys? It's Zach McCarley. Week 2, upper back and biceps. I did put arms right here because I like to train my forearms with this day. I've started doing that again ever since I ruptured my bicep. I found that I was getting a lot of pain when I was engaging my tricep, and I had noticed a lot of atrophy in some of my forearm muscles on my left arm, which is the bicep that I ruptured. And so I began training the forearm muscles directly, and this actually reduced a lot of the pain that I was experiencing during pronation and supination and loading of the elbow. So I've just continued to do that, and the arms continued to get stronger. So, with that being said, let's talk about the training from today. I started the day with a little bit of dumbbell rows supersetted with the alternating bicep curls. When you superset an exercise and you are a strength athlete, I think it's really important to note that you should not be intentionally overlapping a engaged muscle or a primary mover. And what I mean by that is when I'm doing my rows, I am doing my best to absolutely engage the lat but disengage the bicep. I'm really trying to isolate that lat with the row. And then when I move on to the alternating bicep curls, I am focusing on engaging the bicep, obviously not engaging the lat. That's not really an issue that anybody has for that movement. But what does happen is when people are doing different lat movements or upper back movements, they tend to engage their biceps way too much. And this can pre-fatigue the bicep, and it can make the supersetting of a bicep movement nearly impossible, and certainly less functional. So I feel that I need to state that very clearly. It is one of the finer points, but it's a rather important point to get. So after doing the dumbbell row and alternating bicep curl, I move on towards the band assisted pull-up and the alternating hammer curl. I will note that in that first set, I made sure to pause at the bottom of every movement. I paused at the bottom, allowed the lat to stretch in the band assisted pull-up. And then in the second set, I've come back and I've kind of cranked out the first 2/3 or 3/4 of all the repetitions in that movement, trying to keep the lat under tension the entire time and trying to keep that muscle working the entire time. I think it's important to change up stimulus styles. I also think that it's very important to be able to perform under several different circumstances. So you can also see that I switched from alternating hammer curl to double hammer curl. Changing these things up on accessory movements can actually give you better results. At least this is something that I've found for my body. I found it to be true for my clients. A lot of times I keep people in a more strict and rigid structure. I do sometimes encourage people to cheat through movements if it is necessary to moving on towards a new weight. But that's probably a conversation for another day. I'm kind of getting off topic. After the band assisted pull-ups and the hammer curls, we moved on to some band pullovers and some forearm work. These band pullovers is something that I really enjoy doing, especially when I don't have access to a pulley system. So I just set up the bands on a pull-up rig, and then I throw a PVC through them, and then I do some pullovers. You can do it with wide grip, narrow grip. You can do it with different kinds of grip widths or grip, alignments. But I just like to focus on engaging the lats as I do that movement. And then right here we have the first half of the forearm work that I'm performing on this day, the reverse wrist curl coupled with the wrist curl. And when I do the wrist curls, I like to do finger curls, but I'll talk about that in a second. There's actually something else happening on screen right here that I would rather talk about. When you're doing a lot of accessory movements, Taylor says hello, everyone. When you're doing a lot of these accessory movements, it is perfectly fine to give your attention to something else so long as you're performing them correctly. These kind of movements can be very boring, especially when you're performing 3, 4, 5 sets of something that's taking 2 to 3 minutes to complete. It's totally fine to give a little bit of your attention to something else. And so Taylor and I are actually just having a little conversation right there. And I do want to mention that Taylor and Diane are the owners at Ellensburg CrossFit, and they are just fantastic. They've been amazing to me, and they've created an amazing community as well. So when I first came to Ellensburg, I was having to drive 2 hours to train on any strongman equipment, and I owned a little bit of strongman, or I started owning a little bit of strongman equipment after talking to Taylor, and he said, yeah, bring some of it in. And they have such an awesome community and an awesome gym, and they've been so incredibly supportive that I'm positive that I would not have been able to complete, or I should say, I would not have been able to win the 2015 Worlds without their support, without their, without the gym and the community that they created, the space that allows for people to really push themselves in that way. So I could never thank them enough, and I could never say enough positive things about them. So anyway, moving on. We have the ring. We'll say that these are incline ring pull-ups. So I do have my feet on the ground right there. The purpose of this movement is really working towards engaging the lat. And then I've supersetted this with the second half of my forearm training. This is something that I have also talked about in a previous video, but it is essentially a 50 to 100 foot farmer's walk, and then I come back and I like to bring my hands down to about my kneecaps, top, bottom, middle, somewhere in that area, and I do about 10 to 15 shrugs, sometimes 20 if I'm feeling really nasty, and then I hop back up and immediately go back into that same distance farmer's walk, and then I come back and do 10 to 20 more shrugs, and you don't put the weight down at all during this, and I feel that I have a very strong grip, but 2 to 3 sets of this with 50-pound kettlebells, 70 if you're feeling mean towards yourself, it'll get you really good. It does not have to be heavy. It can do quite a bit of work, and it can get some good burn in there. And then I guess the last thing that we have for you today is Christian joined in on this workout. He was saying he wanted to get a little bit of forearm work, and I was like, oh man, we picked the right day to cross paths, because I showed him a little bit of what I was doing. He was like, yeah, I'll hop in on that. So here we have Christian just getting in on that, and he's getting after it with some farmer's walk to shrugs, and then back to farmer's walk and back to shrugs. He's actually walking about twice as far as I was walking in these. So, this movement actually, it burns your forearms really good. So I definitely suggest people out there try it. It's really fun. Kettlebells are found in most gyms much anymore, so it's a really easy way to do it. It does not feel like dumbbells, because dumbbells will rotate in your hand. Kettlebells do not rotate, so the grip's a little bit different. It is more reminiscent of a suitcase carry in strongman for like a farmer's walk instead of a long farmer's implement. So anyway, that's about all I got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to leave any questions. If you haven't checked them out yet, I would love it if you guys checked out my Basics of Strongman Basics of Strongman series, which is a series about the very basics of strongman, getting started, talking to the camera as if someone had no clue about strongman and how to start it. And then I also have the Strongman Theory series, which is a lot more advanced for those people who want to talk about and learn about the way that I think about strongman, the way that I break it down, and the way that I structure training. We get into a lot of different stuff over there. So thanks again for watching. Check those out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.